yeah, I playfully swatted her with the back of my hand on her behind. Admittedly, out in the open. Like, we are speaking to whistleblowers from mercy culture right now. Yeah, that is not evil, actually, Landon and Heather. It's not evil that they're talking to people.
And then she started feeling really weird about it.
Yeah.
And she told her eventually, there was a couple things that she had to do, and she told her eventually, and that was her last day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't feel comfortable. And she's like, you're fired. We know that there's even a guy in the grad page that was drugged through the mud by Michael Brown. He's like, I know this person's stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like he was threatening him to say, if you tell on me, I'm going to tell on you.
It is normal for people who have been abused by clergy, those who appear safe and who should be safe, to never want to enter church again.
Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Wake Up and Win podcast. We're your host, Blaise.
And Christina.
It's great to see you guys tonight. It is Thursday. It's still Thursday. We're recording late, as usual. But we are in chapter 2 of Something's Not Right. Gotta push it real close up there. Wade Mullen, by Wade Mullen. Something's Not Right. Exposing the hidden tactics of spiritual abuse. So we are diving right into that. Last week we did chapter 1. If you do not have this book, purchase the book. We don't have a link for you or anything like that. No affiliation or anything like that. But so just grab the book, or you can get it on Audible and listen to it. We listen to it more than we read it, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great book. So chapter 2 this week we are discussing about charms.
Sorry, I'm looking and I see that those horns are right above my head.
Right, now that the horn picture is not over Christina's head.
Somebody literally commented one time and was like, why do you have a picture of goat horns?
It's not a goat, it's a cow head. We were in Texas at a restaurant and they had that cow head there. And so, no, this is not
it's not satanic.
Or it's not an Illuminati picture or anything like that. It is literally a restaurant in Texas. So let's talk about this. What is a charm according to Wade Mullen?
Okay, yeah. So chapter 2 is all about charms, all about flattery.
Yes.
I thought it was so interesting because I feel like this one kind of hits close to home. It's one that I feel like we could relate to.
What are you trying to say about me? It's about flattery. It really hits close to home.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, but I feel like it's one that is just easy to relate to.
Yeah. We've walked through this in different scenarios that maybe I don't know how much of it we can share, but
even whenever we talk about our previous church, we talk about how we weren't spiritually abused there. We weren't. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this part of it, it's kind of the fun stage of spiritual abuse, the flattery.
Yeah. You could say that. No. You could say that, though. Like, if you're not aware of what's going on, you're like,
wow, they really like me.
Yeah. The leader really likes me. So our pastor used to say all this nice stuff to Christina and
to you.
And to me. Yeah, it's true. But when you think about it, it's like, then you find out about our friends who are behind the scenes with that pastor. And our friends' wives were being called Jezebel.
Right.
You were being called, I see this great destiny for you. I see this CEO for you. I see this da-da-da-da. But our friends' wives, who we had no idea, Jezebel.
I could have never imagined. Because I was like, wow, this pastor, he really sees me. Finally, somebody gets me.
I am somebody. Totally. Yeah.
So I can see how you get,
Yeah. So read that one, right. The definition of the flattery or the charms or something,
Well, I've underlined a few things, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, okay. He says, okay, charms, flattery, favors, and alliances, they exploit our desire for acceptance, our value of kindness, and our acceptance of favors, and our occasional need for another's help. Few want to believe that stepping into what appears to promise them approval, success, or other benefits will result in the opposite. So it's like, I could be blessed here. They're just encouraging me. And you can't imagine that it's going to pull you close so that then they can beat the crud out of you, proverbially or spiritually. But as we look more closely, we'll begin to recognize how abusers play on our good intentions to draw us into an abusive snare. Go ahead and point out some of the
some of the stuff I underlined. So one is, every person in my life that later showed themselves to be abusive and harmful to others was at some point exceedingly kind to me, which, I mean, makes sense, because it's like, if somebody is rude and mean to you straight out the gate, you're not going to get that close to them. You're not going to let them close to you. But if somebody seems kind, you know,
I got something. On this, you know, because this content here is evergreen content. We're going over a book. Okay. It's not just like a breaking story or anything like that. However, when people watch this back years later, obviously the goal is to educate the body of Christ in these things so that they will avoid these types of scenarios, and they can run, they can flee. But at the same note, it's to help us see so that we can call it out. Like, I'm looking right now and going, Sarah Monk, Michael Brown. And you see Michael Brown sitting on Mercy Culture podcast saying, I just, you know, we brought her in. She was our daughter. She was like a daughter to us. She admittedly didn't have a great home life. And, you know, everything is nice. And yeah, you know, I playfully swatted her with the back of my hand on her behind. Admittedly, out in the open. He admits it finally. And instead of that room, like Jocko Boyens, who's a human trafficking expert apparently, and this other guy, and then Heather Schott going, oh yeah, you should not have done that. That's like Shane Winnings pointed out today in his podcast. He said it's illegal. It's sexual harassment. And instead, Brown's going, you know, he minimizes it to this, like, it was just, you know, just kind of kindness or having fun like I would with a daughter. Yeah, not kindness. Not kindness. Not kindness. But it was kindness that led her to be drawn close into a familial relationship.
Right.
And then what we would call, and anybody should be able to call, abusive, it's like, it's SA, because it's touching the private part of another woman who is number one, not your wife. Secondly, half your age. And thirdly, under your spiritual leadership.
So she was a student there, but she was also his secretary.
That too.
So he was literally her boss.
Can you imagine, babe, like a CEO, or not even a CEO, but just like, let's just say a middle management that has a assistant, and they do this, they get fired, and then, or they kind of like get by with it, and then 20 years later it all comes out, and the CEO goes, no problem, dude. It was just a backhanded swat. They would go, oh, you did this? I didn't know you were doing this kind of thing. You're fired. Mm-hmm. Well, it was 20 years ago. It's like, you obfuscated. Is that the word? Obfuscated? Obfuscated. Delete that. Anyway.
We read a lot. Don't talk much.
You basically smudged the evidence for 20 years is basically what Firefly investigator Jim Holler said. He said it's been 20 to 25 years of him avoiding the truth about these things and telling different narratives. And so anyway, it's just, I look at it and I go, he pulled her close.
Well, some examples would be that he, you know, wanted her to call him dad. So it was dad and daughter. She went on like family vacations with them.
Yeah. Ton of nice things.
Yeah, like lots of very nice things.
So that statement, I'm only pointing to that because it's a current event happening right now that we're watching. And that statement, every person that was abusive was at one time very, very kind.
Right.
To start.
To get you to that point.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay. I think this is interesting. Flattery works because it is close to the truth, a distortion of sincere kindness with dashes of exaggeration and untruths mixed into the compliment, making the deception extremely difficult to detect. So it's kind of like, obviously, it's nice to give someone a compliment. There's nothing wrong with being kind, with being encouraging, with complimenting people. But you take something about somebody and you exaggerate it so much to make them feel like they are just like the best thing that's ever been in the world, so that they want to hear that more and be close to you because you see that. So example,
makes so much sense, yeah.
It's like, you are the best communicator I've ever met, and you have more talent than these thousands of people put together.
Wow, thanks, babe.
You have more talent. This is what I tell him every night.
I just want to be closer to you. Can you tell me more? Can you tell me more good things about me?
But it's like, you're obviously talented and good at something, but then to be like, well, you are more talented than all of these people put together, combined, and to compare people to.
Well, it's like the one example he gives in here. We don't have to go to the page. I don't remember what it was, but he said, there were statements that this pastor was making to his congregation saying, you guys are the most amazing congregants and the most loving and selfless and giving congregants any pastor would be privileged to love and lead. And then just a little bit later, he's outed for abusive behaviors within that.
So he obviously didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says one common form of flattery is when someone tells you how exemplary.
Don't comment to us and tell us how to say it.
This makes you feel special, perhaps in ways nobody else has. Typically, it's not just a simple highlighting of your attributes, but a comparison with others in a way that declares you to be better than the rest.
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. There's so many. We've gone through literal scenarios in secular workplace and in Christian church. We were highlighted at times in different scenarios and then privately compared to others. They'd be like, so-and-so, who is somebody like on our same level or whatever, or similar roles. They'd be like, yeah, well, so-and-so, they would almost like the leader would tell us their weakness. And so it made us feel special or something. And it was like, you're kind of just listening and going, this is kind of interesting, or I guess it's necessary that I know this, but it kind of puffs you up. And then you go, wait, they're probably, once you get out of it all, whatever that scenario is, you're like, well, I guess they were doing that to me too.
Right.
to me, telling people about me. It's like, if you got leaders flattering you and isolating you like that, you probably know that they want something from you. It's not that they just want to tell you all this inside scoop.
Right.
Anyway.
It says an integral, I don't know why I can't read anything.
You did it.
An integral clue that a person is using flattery to coerce you is how they respond when their flattery isn't accepted or returned. Those most hungry for the praise of their supporters might be most likely to flatter them, expecting that such excessive praise will not only be accepted, but also returned. If it is returned, and it often is, it creates a cycle of flattery, which makes sense because you would think like, okay, if somebody is like a narcissist, they wouldn't necessarily keep flattering other people because they're just thinking about themselves and think they're the best. But the truth is they will, because they want you to return that.
Yeah.
So then you just go back and forth like.
Yeah. What is the one that you said about that we read where it goes into that and it's like if you hear from stages the back and forth returned flattery. I think it's right after. Yeah. Basically, it says the deeper when you hear, for example, if you hear somebody welcome a speaker on stage and they basically make them idol, like almost to the level of a god, and then that speaker comes up and then they're gonna say the same thing about the MC or whoever just welcomed them up, and this back and forth type of thing. You want to read that? I thought it was really I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. He says the next time you're at a conference or speaking event, listen to how the speakers are introduced. If the MC introduces speakers in a way that practically deifies them, they will likely begin their speech by returning the praise to the MC with similar vigor. As this wheel of worship spins faster and faster, and as flattery is embedded in the culture of a relationship or organization, it becomes increasingly difficult for anyone to interject a sincere expression of truth. This is why the more flattery you see from a person or within an organization, the more dangerous that person or organization might be. The constant praise creates blind spots as people are hesitant to speak criticism because flatterers begin to see criticism as negative, disruptive, and disrespectful.
That's interesting.
So you really can't say anything that's not just like overly exaggerating.
Pastor so-and-so is just amazing. We just love Pastor so-and-so that it's almost like to the point where it's completely unrealistic. And then you behind the scenes create this culture that's like, yeah, we always edify, or we always speak highly of each person. And yes, you want to speak kindly, and yes, you always want to speak well of others. It's not about that, but there's this level of, I thought it was really interesting the way it said, then you can't even you can't even accept a sincere compliment at that point, when that's just the way that there's this wheel of worship, honestly, like obviously kind of going around. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. Here's something super relevant too. Tell me who this reminds you of.
All right.
Let's play a game. All right. Those who remain by an abuser's side tend to be those who are willing to insincerely praise their leader and unquestionably align themselves with their leader's agenda.
Let me give it a shot on this one. Let me give it a shot.
But it's true.
Yeah.
Those are the only people. We've got Dr. Michael Brown, and then you've got Landon Schott throwing confetti and making his whole church like give him a standing ovation. And
confetti.
He gets to stay close. He stays close to Dr. Brown because he is going to unquestionably align himself with him no matter what happens. But then you have other people who were close to Dr. Michael Brown, like Ron Cantor, who asked questions, who saw something sketchy and pointed it out. You have people like Joel Richardson, who was close to him and reached out to him and said, this isn't right. And then you have people like even Mike Winger, who
was close. I mean, yeah.
And none of those people are close to him anymore because they saw something and they said something. And the only one who hasn't is Landon Schott, and he's the one that gets to stay close.
He shot his shot. Landon and Heather shot.
Maybe the flattery is so subtle, and also, so now Landon has taken that same cycle of flattery into mercy culture, where you are not allowed to disagree with him.
We're
not
talking
allowed
to whistleblowers from mercy culture right now.
So many people are like,
if you're
I just asked a
whistleblower,
question and I was asked to go somewhere else and find leadership that I could actually submit to.
Meaning agree with everything they say and not unquestionably agree. Like we watched one comment that a guy had online to Landon, and he was basically just asking him a genuine question about the Michael Brown situation and the Firefly report. And he was like, sounds like you're listening to gossip instead of your spiritual leadership. If you need to leave our church and go somewhere where you can agree with them, fine, just leave. It was like, wait, the guy literally said, I appreciate you. I like you. I'm so thankful for the church, but I'm just questioning this. And the turnaround was like, get out of here. Mm-hmm. So I like, we are speaking to whistleblowers from mercy culture right now. And that is not evil, actually, Landon and Heather. It's not evil that they're talking to people and trying to get an ear with people that will listen to them. We're hearing of people that, anyway, we can't get into the stories, but the problem is that this type of culture, that this type of loyalty, unquestionable loyalty, creates it within the culture as a whole. And then it's just constant praise for the leader and unquestionable. And then those who do this, they likely will get the same flattery and pulled in, the same praise.
Right.
And now they're loyal.
Yeah.
And then they're able to do the same spiritual manipulation, abuse, or, oh, you don't believe the prophetic word from our prophet Landon Schott? I mean, there's a video that we'll end up sharing that was sent to us that called somebody out from mercy culture. And I mean, literally, he's like, basically saying that the person was challenging the prophecy or something. And I was like, that is crazy. But that's the type of guy that gets pulled in because he's doing the work for the church. He's defending the church, Anyway.
Yeah, you have to flatter and praise the church, the pastor, and anyone who doesn't, they're done.
They're done.
They're
out.
So another thing talks about favors. So I was hoping you could do me a favor, the senior pastor said. I was meeting with him one morning in his office. So this part talks about how because they have been so kind to you, and part of the charms isn't just the flattery, but also gifts. Like I even think about Dr. Michael Brown and like the family vacations and just different gifts, favors, things that people do and you think out of the kindness of their heart. But then later they ask you a favor. Like this one says, he requested that I intervene in a crisis his family was going through. This made me uncomfortable because I felt like the favor crossed a line of professionalism. It's the first time I said no to a request, and I was afraid of how he might respond. So if your pastor, who is always kind to you and thinks you're the best thing ever and flatters you, tells you how awesome you are, and then is like, I need a favor. I need you to talk to this person about this specific thing that you just don't really feel comfortable with.
You can't say no.
You can't say no.
Because they've already done all the favors for you. And they'll call your check. They'll call your debt eventually.
I have a crazy story, actually, I just thought of.
Yeah.
This isn't church related, but business related. I shouldn't say this person's name. My friend was a nanny. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's going to give it away. That's my sister, but it's okay. My sister was a nanny. Well, I was thinking about when the story's in, it's like, okay, I'm going to say my sister. My sister was a nanny in Nashville when she was in college for like this super rich family, and they paid her well, and they just loved her. She gave her like all these bags and shoes, like nice stuff, like brands I don't even know, just like super nice.
Oh, what are you talking about? I give you the best branded bags once every decade.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying I've never really been super into
I'm totally
like
yeah.
all of
That's
that.
not your thing. Christina's more of a let's go somewhere cool. Like let's go to the mountains. Let's go to the beach. She's not much of a materialistic
I'm
person.
an
She loves
experience. I like to spend money on experiences.
It's great.
But anyway, she had all these nice bags, nice like shoes, all these things that she would give her. And she would give her like random bonuses. It was like a good gig. We were like, wow, you have the best job ever.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
That was like right when I had met you.
And she would...
or maybe I just heard about it.
You heard about it because this was...
a little bit after.
Yeah. So anyways, and her job was like fun. She would like take the kid to the pool and stuff and just do all these like fun things. But then... And she treated her like a daughter as far as...
Sure.
This lady asked my sister to get the mail for her and to hide the mail because she didn't want her husband to see all the credit cards that she had in his name.
Oh my gosh.
And was spending all this money, which they had plenty of money, but it's one of those things. Anyways, so my sister was in a position to where this was also her friend, her boss, somebody who had done all these nice things to her and she started doing that, getting the mail for her. And then she started feeling really weird about it.
Yeah.
And she told her eventually, there was a couple things that she had to do, and she told her eventually, and that was her last day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't feel comfortable. And she's like, you're fired. Basically.
She said, you don't have to come back. She said, you don't have to come back tomorrow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But anyways,
she's like, I'm going to find somebody to hide
well,
my
there was
bills.
a couple separate things, which actually go in line with this too. One of them was that she would like not ever come back on time. Like she was always late. If my sister had to be somewhere, like you never know when the mom's coming back. But she comes back and she's like, oh, I'll pay you extra today.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'll do this. But it's like, yeah, but I have plans. I have somewhere I have to be. I need to know ahead of time.
Right.
So stuff like that. And then she would actually bring up that she had given her, oh, well, I gave you that like $100 bag.
Yeah.
More than $100 bag.
And that's that whole tactic within spiritual community, job, whatever it might be, relationship, where somebody's always calling the debt. They're never doing things because they're really being generous. They're always ready to call the debt.
Yeah.
At any point in time. Yeah, that's
pretty crazy, right?
It is pretty crazy.
I just thought of that.
I got to say something about this whole thing with the church scandals and this idea here. The idea that all these people have dirt on each other, it's not that far-fetched. We know, for example, that Joni Lamb knew of Robert Morris's stuff that was about to come out. She knew about it. How long had she known about it? I don't know, but she knew about his stuff. Like Doug Weiss at Daystar said he would always keep these big names people's secrets, and he told Jonathan Lamb that. There's a recording of it, and he's like, I would keep your secrets too. And here's the idea, though, I'm thinking, is like a guy like Michael Brown is in everybody's business. We go all the way back to him dealing with Globe International somehow, telling Doug Gaiman in an email what he's going to tell his grads and what Doug Gaiman is apparently going to tell his people. And it's like he finds himself on IHOP stage. He's up there telling people, be patient. I am interacting, but you got the AG like Alan Hood, Wes Martin, many others saying like, yeah, it was like awkward working with Michael Brown. It's like we never really knew if he was actually doing anything to get it actually done. But it was always, so here's my thought is just that it's like I think some of these major players know each other's stuff, and they kind of go like, well, we know that there's even a guy in the grad page that was drugged through the mud by Michael Brown. He's like, I know this person's stuff. And it's almost like he was threatening him to say, if you tell on me, I'm going to tell on you. And it's like, after all I've done for you, now you're going to go and out me? Well, I'm going to out you. It's kind of this like, anyway, I don't know if it relates completely, but it just made me think of this idea of like investing. And when you're no longer in it, then you're out. Yeah. You're completely out. And if you got dirt, they're going to go tell your dirt, So anyway.
It says, as with most charms, favors as a deception tactic can be hard to distinguish from genuine offers to help. A hidden agenda to control or groom for abuse is often only revealed when you reject a request to return a favor or accept help, which is basically like what you're saying. It's like, as soon as you don't return the favor, as soon as you are like, no, I'm not going to do that, then they're done with you.
Well, it reminds me actually, and I'll tell it real quick because I can't even use names, but we talked to somebody today and we can't talk about the church or the pastor, but they were leaving this church and the pastor sent them a message, God bless you, and like very kind. And when they returned the message, it was like, well, hey, actually we were trying to express some things to you. It suddenly turned completely. Right. It's like when you don't flatter back, when you don't meet the flattery and you don't be fake. And that's what it is. It's being fake. If you're like going to questioning a pastor, questioning the tactics of, or what a church is doing, it's not rebellion against your authority. That's not rebellion. If your pastor says that you need to go somewhere else if you have questions about the vision or the prophetic words, I mean, then that's like a very controlling environment.
Let's see. Another charm is alliances, doing the whole you and I have more in common than you think. Whenever there's any kind of like disagreement, which that's happened to us. Do you remember who did that to you during the 𝐂𝐻 stuff? Literally this exact line.
Malachi O'Brien.
Well, him and Eric Voles. Eric Voles sent you a private message and was like,
that's true.
Hey, you and I have more in common than you think.
That's
because
so true.
You might align politically with some of their,
some of his
ideas.
Thoughts or whatever. Yeah.
So he was going to try to like get you on his side that way. But
and Malachi O'Brien was like, oh yeah, I was at that ministry one time, or I knew this minister that and I was like, that's cool. Why are you simping for an abuser?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So the next one is rushed vulnerability gets you to share your own story and intimate details, creating an alliance of experience, and provides an abuser access to the deepest parts of your soul. This is what we talk about a lot that I feel like happens at church way too often with just
counseling
people.
Or like,
well, even just like sometimes I feel like even in small groups.
Oh, we had a small group with our former pastor where he'd be like, it's going to be messy, y'all just open up and share. It was almost like this high pressure to feel like you needed to share your deepest, darkest secret.
Like on day one, he wanted, it was like, we're going to know every part of each other.
I remember some girl like telling some really intense story about her life and just crying, and we're all like, wow. And it's like powerful when there's vulnerability, but then everybody feels like they need to do that. And then suddenly you find out that your pastor has 10 years of spiritual abuse allegations. You're like, what?
So they find out these things about you and then use them against you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Let's see. Okay, this says, instead of responding to the challenge, the person will make comments that highlight subjects of agreement to distract from subjects of disagreement. You may bring up your concern about how some leaders are ignoring policies for the sake of pushing a certain agenda through, or how certain standards aren't being followed. And rather than address these concerns, your boss may focus on how important the project is to the future success of the company. Slowly but surely, criticisms are dropped and concerns by redirecting everyone to areas of shared beliefs or goals.
This is so common within the charismatic church, especially by the word of the Lord. The word of the Lord to our church is to do this, to accomplish this. So then there's concerns about, well, actually, we don't think it should be done this way. And it's like, guys, we need to help these people. God's called us to do this. I mean, sorry, I got to go there again, but with Mercy Culture and Land and Shot in the taking care of victims thing that they're planning and doing, we know that there was pushback within their own congregation about how close the human trafficking center location for the housing the women was going to be to like where the kids
school.
or the school. And that was a true concern. And we know that there was pushback within the community, but it was always like, nope, the Lord's spoken, or the Lord's leading us, we're going to do this. It's like always pushing back to not actually address, literally Landon said that people in that community, or if they were voting against it on the city level, were like from the devil or something. They were evil and they don't care about victims, when it's really other concerns are being raised. But the idea, and this is obviously I'm talking about Mercy Culture because it's right on the tip of the spear of this conversation right now. But if you're in a church and you bring concerns about something and this tactic is used, which is like moving it to, well, we feel from the Lord that this is what we're supposed to do, but you're bringing logistical concerns and practical reasons why it might not be a good idea, and they're not listening, you know that you're likely in a community where spiritual abuse is taking place.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other final quotes or comments on here?
Yes. Just in closing, for why it matters, it says tactics of charm lead to devastating abuse, but the after effects are also long-lasting for survivors. It's part of what's so disorienting and disillusioning about abuse, the realization that the kindness you once enjoyed and appreciated was actually a deception intended to harm you. Understandably, after such a betrayal, it may be difficult to trust future displays of sincere kindness, to enter into genuine relationships, and to walk closely with another person. It is normal for people who have been abused by clergy, those who appear safe and who should be safe, to never want to enter church again.
That's real. Yeah.
We see that so much.
We've had so many conversations with people that are like, yeah, we're just having a hard time knowing where to go at all, or if we even want to go back. And these are people that are like, we're on fire for Jesus, like love the Lord. We see this with Sarah Monk. I mean, her experience with Mike Brown, being two-faced in essence of what she saw with Ray's wife and with herself, made her not want to even be a believer for many years. And it wasn't until advocates, they wanted to paint within, I have to say this, Michael Brown within that three-hour interview wanted to paint the picture that, Ron Cantor or Chris Bennett and whoever else brought Sarah into it, and it hurt Sarah's life that they brought her into it, and they asked her these questions in 2020 through 2025. But the reality is it actually brought her hope alive in the Lord again. She tells this testimony that it brought her back to the Lord when she realized people cared about what she had been through. It's just literally the opposite story. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, these tactics definitely push people away from the body of Christ, and that's why they have to be addressed. Any final?
Yeah, one more. All right. Flattery, excessive attention, gifts, and kindness can groom whole groups of people to accept abusive situations. There are numerous cases in which entire communities have rallied to defend the character of an abuser on the basis of his or her kindness.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So this one talks about a church and community held events to raise support for the accused. They showed up at hearings and purchased billboards to express their support. Meanwhile, the young victim and her family moved out of the neighborhood to escape harassment. The wave of support worked. He was even awarded Teacher of the Year. 15 years later, he was convicted for the SA. In most recent cases, this display of community support is seen in social media posts where supporters claim the accused could not be guilty because of how generous they know the accused to be. In cases like these, the very behaviors used to groom someone for abuse are offered as evidence of innocence.
That is crazy. It's kind of like the way that, like, when Mike Bickle was being outed and accused, everybody's like, no, he's the godliest man I've ever met. No, look at his Bible teaching. Look at all that he's invested in the body of Christ. Look at all that he's done. I'm the fruit of his life. Mike Brown, Landon Schott's like, I'm the fruit of Michael Brown's life. Look, my life is the fruit of Michael Brown's life in his walk with the Lord. It's like, okay, that's great. All these things are great, that God can work through anybody at any time. Meaning, like, if somebody reads a Bible verse, people have a hard time with this, and I understand why, but if the word of God works regardless of how it comes, and so the word of God can bring fruit in somebody's life, but if that person is behind the scenes acting with abusive activities, then they're an abuser. They are a wolf in sheep's clothing, and yes, the Lord can still use anything in somebody's life to impact people, but that doesn't mean that that person's let off the hook. And in fact, it makes it to where you see situations at Mercy Culture where instead of saying, oh, it's illegal that he slapped his assistant's butt on the way out, he admits to it on this interview. So keep talking. It's helpful. Keep talking. Michael Brown, keep talking, because it's helpful for us to actually hear. Slapped her butt on the way out the door multiple times, and then instead of pointing that out and saying that is terribly disgusting, they shoot confetti in the air. And Landon Schott says, I'd do it again. I'd shoot confetti in the air again. It's like, it's so strange. But you're exactly right. The same, what is the word there? The characteristics that made people like him are the same characteristics that they say, no, he couldn't have really meant this in a bad way. No, he didn't mean this sexually. He was just slapping a butt to be silly.
It's the very behaviors used to groom someone for abuse are offered as evidence of innocence.
That is crazy. That's crazy. Well, guys, leave your comments below on this, on what you're getting out of the book, what you're seeing in the book.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to read the comments.
We didn't read any comments this time.
We did get an email.
We did. I don't know.
We might have to do it next time.
Yeah, let's do it next time, because
we'll catch up on that, because we got a little bit behind.
Yeah, and we want to get this episode out. But leave your comments below. We will read some comments this next week, and we are reading your emails. We appreciate your emails. And let's just say, finally, here at the end, this episode is brought to you,
speaking of books,
by Pear Creative. PearCreative.ca. Pear Creative is a Christian publishing company. It's a publishing design company. I'm sorry. Pear Creative is a Christian publishing design company.
And not even just Christian.
Not even just
Yvonne's
Christian.
a Christian, but if your book is not a Christian book, she will still do it.
It's true. She helps authors bring their books to life and share their stories with the world. Yvonne at Pear Creative has designed over 4,200 books for self-published authors and dozens of publishers, with many bestsellers to her credit. So whether you're doing it on your own or you're a publisher looking for an experienced book designer, Pear Creative delivers bestseller looks at a first-time author price. So you get a stunning cover, a beautiful interior, and a world-class ebook, and they'll even help you get your book up on Amazon. So Yvonne is a lot of fun. We've had already testimonials of people connecting with Yvonne and getting things moving, and and Yvonne's just loving our audience, because she's our audience, so it's just everybody vibes, so it's super cool. She'll get the job done fast, and she'll knock it out of the park. So from manuscript to market, she will guide you step by step, so the publishing process is easy, fun, and low stress. So check out pearcreative.ca. That's pearcreative.ca. Bestseller looks at a first-time author price. That said, guys, we appreciate you, and keep diving into this book. I think it's helpful. Let us know if you think it's helpful. But don't forget to, we're doing Galatians right now. We got Galatians 6 that we still got to knock out. But yeah, we're just reading through the Bible, reading through the epistles of Paul right now is what we're doing. Somebody told us we should start with Genesis 1. That's where Paul started. I'm like, goodness gracious, you can't do anything right for folks sometimes. But we're reading through the epistles of Paul right now, focusing on the revelation of the gospel, and it's just beautiful. So plug into that playlist if you want to watch that as well. All right, guys. Have a great night.
Bye,
Peace.
guys.
Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up.